Afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me on this? Because I can't. Brilliant. I'm the patient engagement lead for the HCC, and I'm so pleased to introduce you to nurse Hindatu Comma. So she's a respiratory nurse at Northwick Park Hospital, but she's also a proud sickle cell warrior. So in this way, her lived experience gives her a really powerful perspective on what patient-centered care truly looks like. So today she's going to share some of her reflections from both sides of the healthcare system, including growing up with sickle cell, training as a nurse during the pandemic, which some of you may be familiar with if you're newly qualified. So please, join me in welcoming her with a nice warm set of applause.
Hi, everyone. As you know, my name's Hindatu. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. I had it together before I got up here and I've seen all the faces, but yeah, if I go a little bit too fast, just wave, I'll stop and kind of slow down. So where do I start? I have sickle cell, my genotype SS. I have full sickle cell anemia. I am currently under Northwest Central Middlesex Hospital. I work in Northwick Park as a respiratory nurse, which everyone, I'm sure you're looking at me thinking you're crazy. Sickle cell and working on that ward doesn't quite go together, but you know me, I like a challenge. So basically, okay, so like Georgia said, I came into this studying through COVID. Was anyone work? In fact, I don't even need to ask you because all your hands will go up. Anyone working through COVID? Or yeah, majority of you. Okay, so I studied through that period, and before I came into nursing, I did something completely different. So when I decided to come into nursing, I think everyone thought I was mad because I was due to start in March of before we even knew COVID was COVID. And I was, like I said, working in something completely different. Working through that period was quite a challenge, but at the same time, it kind of actually helped with the lockdown. I don't know. I know you guys will probably think, how? To be honest with you, having sickle cell, for us, we're always in isolation. So for me, studying online, it helped me because I didn't have to go to uni to be able to get my work done. I was able to study online, have one-to-ones. It was actually perfect for me, which is how I got through it. The difficulty came when I had to do practical, like actually be on the ward. So they then had to find me, and it literally delayed me. I actually took 4 years to do it instead of 3 years. So they actually had to take me off ward and find me a hospital which was safe, COVID-free at that time, which was becoming very difficult, but they found me one. And then I had to do all my placements back to back. They already told me, you're not going on any holidays for 2 years, so you're just going to have to do this. If you want to be a nurse, this is what you're going to have to do. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do it. There's no two ways about it. So I did it. Going off track. Okay, so growing up with sickle cell, yeah, it's always been a challenge, but I come from a household, an African household, a Nigerian to be exact, and you don't get any off days. So you can be ill that day, but tomorrow you're going to read a book or you're going to the library, you're going to find something to do, but there's no off days. So for me, my family don't ask me, are you okay? Or, you know, how are you feeling today within your body? Because that automatically puts something in your head that says, actually, you must be sick that day. They ask me, what can you do today? That's the question that's asked every morning. And without me really knowing, that actually played into my whole adulthood. Like, it gives you a different understanding of how you're going to tackle that day or your life. You're not thinking, okay, so even if you do wake up in pain, you're not thinking that. When this is past, What can I do tomorrow? You're already planning ahead. You're not thinking, I'm going to be, we have sickle cell and it's quite, the struggle with sickle cell is that you can't do what you want with your body, but your mind is already far ahead. Like you can't do anything, to be honest with you. And also it comes with people's opinions and the limitations that they put on you. And sometimes, I'm sorry to say it, but within this health care system that we have to be part of and go to for support, sometimes I think it's getting much better now. We've got people like Keisha. I've got my nurse, where is she? Sarah, Sue, in the audience, right there. These people have been amazing, amazing. I feel like when I was younger, growing up with sickle cell, I was always a sick kid, but I never really felt like the sick kid. I was made to feel like the sick kid because I would be pulled out of things, sit to one side. No, you can't get involved in swimming. I haven't learned to swim, and you'll find out of most sickle cell people with sickle cell. Water's always cold. I don't know why they don't make a warm pool. Yeah. So we never really get involved in activities. But growing up and like coming to my teens, I don't think I even thought about even thinking about what sickle cell was, because my mum was like the warrior for me. Every appointment she was there. She knew it. She was like the expert. I remember her interaction with Kofi. Kofi and me are like this now, but when she met him, he had to come in. He's the psychologist for Northwest, and he was based at Central Middlesex for a long time. And he came in and he said, I'm the psychologist. She said, God forbid, she doesn't need any psychologist. There's nothing wrong with her. Just let's get to the appointment. Let me tell you what needs to happen, and then we move on. And I was just mortified, but every African person in here knows what's going on. They just, this whole, there's nothing wrong with her head. Let's just get what we need to get and get out of here. That she was like really my advocate. So for me, I probably up until the age of 13, I knew I had sickle cell. I knew I'd get sick from sickle cell. I know that the pain is excruciating from sickle cell. I might miss school from sickle cell. Lose a few friends along the way, because that can be quite a thing. You're out for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month sometime. You come back and your friends have moved on. So you kind of learn to, again, like I said, it comes back to that whole thing. We were already in isolation. Different aspects of life put us in isolation with this condition. I think I'm waffling a bit, I've gone off course. I'm so sorry. So sorry. So like I said, when I got to the age of 13 is when I really decided to learn about sickle cell. And, like I said, even growing up, my mum would say, this food is good for you, that good food is good for you. Every food I like now, I hated because I had to eat it. Like she would just make sure. Sometimes I confessed this to her recently. I used to throw the liver and the spinach out of the window because there was a dog downstairs. But yeah, she's like, so this is what you used to do with my good food, eh? This is this kind of thing that I used to do. So yeah, so at the age of 13, I kind of understood, okay, so if I don't do this and I do this, this might make me better. I might avoid this. But I didn't really understand the condition that I had. It was left to my family to kind of guide me on that one. And my mum coming to appointments to like I said, be the expert and advocate for me. When I got to uni, I just rebelled against the whole condition. And I know that sounds crazy, because how do you rebel against a condition? You just didn't want to, I just wanted to be normal, what they say is normal. Not have this condition, fit in, go out, go crazy. I shouldn't be saying this because my daughter's at the back, but yeah, I like would drink and then not like, I don't even like the taste of alcohol, but just to fit in. And then that whole experience of one time having a hangover, I said, this is not for me. But that caused a problem. And then I ended up going into hospital. So everything I was trying to do to rebel was just making me even more sick. I didn't tell anybody I had it when I came to uni, because that was my point of being free. And I know, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the young man's name that was here. And he was talking about how you get people. There are so many resources now. These kids are just always on their phone, like QR codes. You need to go meet them. You need to have a bus at the uni. You need to have a stall at the uni. You need to go there, be there. They won't come. And all these appointments that you make before 11 o'clock, it's not going to happen. They're not going to turn up. I was one of them. You used to phone me. I used to see your number and I used to just, So I'm just being real with you. Like, it's just not going to work. But there are ways of it working now because you've got technology that, can reach them far quicker than any telephone call or text message. But I digress again. I've gone way off course. Forgive me. So yeah, I didn't actually, when I got to uni, tell anyone. But the funny thing was, I was hanging around with 3 people. There's a group of 5 of us, and hanging around with 3 people. 3 of us actually had it. 2 other people actually had it that I used to hang around with. I was constantly, like, even I'm friends with them now. One of them sadly has passed away. But yeah, one went into hospital. And then I was sitting with the other one and he was like, just want to say, like, this is really sad. Like, he's in hospital and he's a Jehovah's Witness. He didn't want to take blood, which is, we were really like, what are we going to do? Like, his mum's telling him not to take the blood. If it was my mum, then we got to talking and really found out that actually, you got sickle cell, I've got sickle cell. We started talking about it. We're still friends now, like all of us. So yeah, it was at that point I actually felt like I could share it with someone. And that was probably how old was I? Probably about 19, 20. And it's at that point you kind of, now start getting interested in what the condition is that you have. And you see that it affects people differently. It doesn't, like, my thing is, I need to be hot all the time. I'm walking around with heat patches from head to toe, even now. Yeah, because it helps me. I have to keep myself hydrated, as you know, and do all the right things. If I feel myself getting a bit fatigued, then just stop. But for someone else, I've come across one other nurse that works in a different trust. And we did a talk before at my uni and we were fighting over the thermostat. And I'm like, what's wrong with this girl? She's got sickle cell. She's turning the heat down. I'm turning it up. She's turning it down. Okay, so then I realized that we started talking and she tells me that she's actually the opposite of me, where I want heat, she wants cold. This was a bad combination. But yeah, I'm going off course again. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so being at uni, that was my experience. I hid it for the whole time. I just wanted to be normal. And in as much as I wasn't that far away from London, but every time I had a crisis, I would put myself in that 30-minute journey on the train and made sure I come back because I didn't think that they really understood outside of London, even though it's not that far. 30 minutes, not that far. Yeah, I'll come back to becoming a nurse. It was a hard journey, but I knew it was something that I definitely wanted to do. A few personal experiences, and also just because I wanted to kind of, I don't want to say give back because that sounds cheesy, but I feel like you'll never really understand what a patient is going through unless you're a patient yourself. And I'm sure everybody here has been. You don't come into this because you want to pay your mortgage. I think if you did, your patients would see it. You come into this because you care. Every single one of you care. And sometimes I feel like maybe the stresses of the job or, with sickle cell, there's low tolerance. We come into A&E, and I'll be honest, there's been times where I've not wanted to come into A&E. I've literally preferred to die at home than come into A&E because of how I'm treated. I'm sure you all hear this over and over again. But like, I'm the kind of person that will come into A&E and keep quiet until I can no longer bear the pain and then ask for pain relief. And my protocol is not, it's not morphine. whereas the normal protocol is to give morphine, right? I get bad reaction from morphine. So imagine being in pain and now you have to, there's a stigma of, you know, every person that comes into A&E has a drug addiction if they've got sickle cell. Like they're just addicted to the drug. They're here for the drug. They can get the hard drugs from A&E, like morphine, tramadol, whatever it is they've come in for. We're in pain. We don't want to be there. Nobody asks to be in hospital. No one asks to, unless you've got Munchausen syndrome. There's no reason why you should be in hospital unless there's something really wrong with you. And coming through A&E, it's not easy. I know that it's a busy environment, but I'm there because I'm in pain. I'm there because I called the ambulance to come here. I'm not just wasting your time. So if I say to you, while I'm in pain, let's just believe that person until we can figure it out, yeah? Because what I find is when I say, I can't take morphine, give me something else, I now have a 5-minute conversation of why I can't take morphine. And I don't tell them that I'm a nurse. I don't tell them. I like to just see the reactions. Even within my day-to-day work, I don't tell anybody that I have sickle cell, not because now I'm ashamed of it. Now I will talk about it everywhere. It's because my managers know, but the rest of the staff don't know. And my managers know only because I have to tell them. The rest of the staff don't know because I want to see truthfully how you are when somebody comes in and says that they have sickle cell or says that they're in pain. I want to see what your real reaction is. So what I find is that even when we're in handover and someone says, oh, we have somebody with sickle cell, immediately it's like, oh my God, eyes rolling. And everybody does it in unison. And I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on? I understand that sometimes some people with sickle cell can be quite demanding, but imagine each time you come to hospital, you'll come against somebody who doesn't give you pain relief initially, who doesn't even treat you like a person. In fact, you've come in and you've had to tell them over and over again. By the time you see them, yeah, they're at a point of, I know what I want, I'm in pain, please just help me. So to you, it's quite aggressive. It's not aggressive. It's not them being aggressive. I think we need to have a level of tolerance because I see when I lost my best friend to cancer and I went through that whole experience and it was completely different. It was completely different. There was a level of compassion I had never seen before in my life. I've got somebody I know with fibromyalgia. That's pretty new to healthcare. And the level of compassion to that, oh, I understand, you should do this. You're even giving tips. When it comes to sickle cell, I think we should be a little bit more tolerant because the pain, I wouldn't wish this again on my worst enemy. I have so completely gone off track. I'll be honest, this condition has made me look at life in like a different perspective. If I didn't have this condition, I probably wouldn't be standing here. I probably wouldn't be a nurse. I probably wouldn't push for what I would want to push for. Let me not lie, I got parents that wouldn't let me a day off. But yeah, it really has given me such a different perspective. And even when my patients come in who don't have sickle cell, I look at them and I just see that I don't know what it is, but I can kind of read their body language because when you have sickle cell and you're in hospital, you kind of people watch. Some people say some things like they're happy or they're having a wonderful time, but you can kind of look at them and actually see that they're not. I can kind of read that, which is good for my job. But so many people have helped me along the way. I cannot deny that actually I've met some amazing people. Yeah. And even if it's one person at each stage, and I've met 100 horrible people throughout that one stage, I always remember that one person because even doing my dissertation, I did that from a hospital bed. I came into Central Middlesex for a blood test. I don't know, Keisha, I'm not sure if you were there at that time, but Dr. Rosby was my doctor. And he looked at me and he was like, you're not going home. My car was in the car park and I was like, these people are going to charge me for my car. And that's all I was thinking about. I just need to get my car at the car park because I can't be here for 24 hours. I only got a day ticket. So he was like, no, you're not going home. And I was like, oh, what if my blood says? My blood say, he's like, you know, you're going to the hospital, Northwood Park, the hospital that I work in. And I was like, no, I'm not going there. I know people there. I can't go there. He's like, I'm sending you by ambulance. You're going to Northwood Park because where I came was the actual day unit. So he sent me there, and literally I had to do my dissertation from that hospital bed. So I was communicating with my tutor at my uni, Amsal Wamburu at Bucks Uni. I have to say her name because that woman has helped me no end. Even now she's in my life. She basically advocated for me and said, no, I'm going to allow you to resubmit. And I'm like, you only get one chance in nursing. You just get one chance. Like, if I mess this up, you know, she was like, no, I'm going to make sure this is, you know, unforeseen circumstances. You're going to do it again. So I did it again and I passed. And yeah, I couldn't believe it. Every stage, I couldn't even believe. Like the 100% on the maths, she was like, you need to do this. Okay, so I was at home. I was able to study and I got 100%. I was like, I'm not very good at maths. How did I get here? So for me, it's like, I'm having to push through. I'm talking about life like my life is normal, but every single day is like, I'll be honest with you, it's a challenge getting up, but I have to do it. I have to do it. First of all, I have to prepare my body 1 hour before I get up because I know what's going to happen. And if the condition, if I'm staying somewhere new, it's almost like I have to plan a whole vacation around just going somewhere new. Like just coming here today, I arrived late and I didn't mean to arrive late because quite frankly, that's rude. My body wouldn't work this morning, but I had to be here. I had to be here. Like I said, I've got 100 heat patches on. I've drunk 100 cups of tea. I'm all right. Just keep visiting the toilet. But for me, it's like nobody really understands except somebody with sickle cell. And like I said, sickle cell is different for everyone. It affects every single one of us differently. But for me, it's like I have to, it's not easy. It's, I don't want to moan or be doom and gloom about it, but you have to prepare every single day. If the living, where's the lady that just came up here for public? Jess, I need to speak to you after. I was in a cold house for 10 years and a lot of people go through that, but we still get on. You will never know. But yeah, if the condition that you're living in impacts how you move, you know, just be getting up in the morning, your body dictates to you what's going to happen that day, but you still have to push through it. Work, sometimes they don't understand. You still have to go to work and get paid. Sometimes you lose jobs because of the condition. And it's not that you're a lazy person, you really want to work. And me working in the NHS, it's, for me, I love this job. I've done jobs before, but I absolutely love being a nurse. I absolutely love it. I have just waffled and so sorry. Yeah, so for me, I just feel like nobody asks for this condition. Nobody asks to be sick. Nobody asks to come to hospital and just take up your time. I know that from the other side, you might not have enough time to spend with that person and things are busy, you know, time constraints and stuff. But please just speak to us as an individual. Ask us, you know, we already come in with that wall of it's going to be like this because it's never been any different. It's never been any different. So for me, just take time to just ask us, treat us like human beings. You treat those with other conditions like human beings. So we deserve to be treated like human beings. Yeah, just ask us, what do you need today? How can I help you? Not, sometimes I feel like we're talked at instead of talked with. You tell us what's going to happen to our body. And I feel like sometimes there needs to be a bit of communication. I had somebody talk to me He wasn't talking with me. He literally was telling me everything that was going to happen. And this is what he was doing. Not even put his head up once. So after all of that, I'm supposed to put my life in your hands. You didn't even look at me. You don't even know what eye color I have. You don't even know whether I was smiling. You don't even know where I was looking up. You don't know. You don't know what my facial expression was. I'm already quite apprehensive having to give you control of my life. So all the bare minimum you can do is give me eye contact and ask, am I okay? What do you need? We're human beings. Even if we're combative, I think in this healthcare system, we've come into this because we wanted to make a change. We are a different kind of breed of people, I can tell you that, because we keep coming back. Yeah, we are. But I think you have to understand that nobody comes into that hospital thinking, how can I get on this nurse's nerves today? Like literally just ask us, what do we need?
So I have a few follow-up questions for Hindatu, and then we'll take audience questions. But some of you in this room, like Keisha, will already know who she is. She's very active in patient involvement. So she's part of the Strength in Sickle patient group at London Northwest, and also part of our patient and public voice group, which we have for our HCC. And she also works with the Sickle Cell Society, and she'll tell us a little bit more about that. But just to start off with, can I ask, the first thing is, having a dual perspective as a nurse and a warrior, I'll ask, does sickle cell make it tough to be a nurse, or do people and systems sometimes make it tough? And could you tell us more about your experience at work, managing the condition and expectations?
So I'd say sickle cell makes it easier being a nurse, actually. Like I said, you have a different perspective. You look at things differently. Why do people act that way? Like, yeah, you just look at each situation, each individual as an individual and a circumstance on its own. It's not just this person's come in with COPD and they're a bit grouchy and they can't breathe, and or whatever it is, whatever the situation is, it makes you look at that situation in depth. It's not just surface. I've just read what the patient care plan is. You know, what does that patient need in terms of physical health? I also look at them and I could just say one thing, like maybe even the family members when they come in, just obviously you would gauge whether this is appropriate or not, but sometimes family members don't say anything and they just sit there for the whole day. Just this, just a little as you walk past and they burst into tears, or they, nurse, I really need to tell you, I really need to speak to you. They talk to you outside and everything comes out. It's almost like you see where that person who's ill is placed in that family. Like that comes into play when people are end of life as well. It's you, and then you kind of think of your own situation. Like, yeah, I don't know if I've even answered the question. Again, I've waffled.
Oh, no. Because we talked about what you've raised there about nurses having this natural talent and at least really honing it to observe people and monitor them, which is so crucial for sickle cell care in urgent settings because these patients can deteriorate so quickly. We talked about you having, it plays into your perfect week. So you said you've experienced some really positive care recently in comparison to how it's been historically for you. Could you share a bit more about that perfect week?
Definitely. Like I'm saying, when Dr. Rosby sent me to Northwick Park, the hospital that I work in, so basically I went into A&E. My bloods were not okay; they were abnormal, and then my SATs were like 90. I think they were way below low. For me, it's 94 sometimes, but it was way below that, and I was just struggling. But immediately when I came in, I saw, the poster, I can't remember, Act Now poster for sickle cell on the wall. And I looked at that thing. I was like literally mesmerized by this thing. And I was just like, I know what that means. Like, we've been talking about this the whole time in one of our patient care groups. It's actually on the wall in A&E. because it's taken so long to get here. I was so shocked. I was just looking at the thing like it was a masterpiece because I wasn't expecting to see it. And when I saw it, I just immediately, I'm telling you what I felt. I felt included in this healthcare that I work in as well. I just felt included because I didn't expect to see it. And so when I saw it, I didn't know it was their perfect week, but I looked at it for ages. I looked at it for ages. I wasn't in pain at that point, which is probably why I could concentrate on it. But I looked at this thing for ages and I thought, that is so good. Like we've come so, there were so many thoughts in that one, just seeing that one first poster. And then going on, they were asking me, are you okay? You know, that everything worked as it should do. How I hoped it would. Like I've always been hopeful of that process of what I went through when I came through A&E that time. And that was the first time in a long time. So for me, it was like, this is actually happening. Like, and bear in mind, it's just, it's a little thing to do, but this is what I see happening with other conditions. So for me to receive that, having sickle cell was the first time. And it was just like, okay, so we're the same now. Like, we've been treated the same. It felt really good. It felt really good. Felt included.
And that was your first time using London, one of the first times using the London ambulance service to get there.
Yeah.
And that handover being smoother.
It was so smooth. The
I'm
doctor
so glad.
knew. The nurse said, okay, it's our perfect week. And I just said, oh, I work on the 7th floor above and I didn't even know this was happening on the ground floor. So I was just like, this is wonderful. Like everybody knew about sickle cell. It was just a smooth transition. And yeah.
So in that way, well, first of all, I want to say it's amazing that you've, it's sad that you've had negative experiences in the past, but amazing that you still have so much faith in the NHS. And obviously you're so dedicated to being a nurse, and using your experience to better the experience of your patients in respiratory. And you've highlighted a couple of times about what it's like to feel unseen, not heard, feel like nobody's listening.
Yeah.
What signals have made you feel less important in the past than other groups of patients, like cancer patients or those with other long-term conditions?
The experiences, I'll give you one good experience. I was in one of our hospitals, not Northwick Park, or it was one of the tri-borough hospitals. Yeah, I won't go into it, but when I came in, there was already a lady opposite with sickle cell. I know that there was a lady beside me with sickle cell, and already they were screaming, and I was like, I'm already in pain, so they're not getting their pain medication. I'm definitely not going to get my pain medication. So I just shut up and bear this until somebody comes and says, do you want pain medication? And I think it was over an hour. At that time, there was no 30 minutes and then we'll call the hematologist situation with, NICE giving a guideline. I think they had guidelines at that time, but that wasn't the situation. Sorry.
That's all. So what made you feel less important? But as you're saying, it was the
That did.
waiting.
Yeah, it was the waiting to be seen, the waiting to be treated, just left there. And then in that whole process, we had nurses outside. You know, those curtains are not walls, yeah? We can hear everything. We're outside, two of them, two nurses not doing their job, just outside gossiping about 3 sickle cell patients. Oh, we've got another one. Hence why I didn't say a single word. But when my mum turned up, things happened. But for me, to hear one person screaming with pain and then another, I knew there were sickle cell patients. Oh, we got another one. Oh God, we've got another one. Why are they crying there? So like, I'm just thinking, in my mind, I just said to myself, you better shut your mouth, work through that pain. But that was the experience. That was the experience at that point.
Yeah. And that being said, how you've already touched on it in terms of body language, using eye contact, making sure the value of face-to-face healthcare when you can do that. How can clinicians make sickle cell patients feel like they matter, that they're a priority, even when we're understaffed, that they're a person as opposed to a situation? What kind of things would you advise them to do?
Well, we learned about the 6 Cs when I came in. I only saw 3 of those when you know what I mean? When I come to A&E, like when I come in, I don't see all of the 6 Cs. So I think these are just pretty basic things. Put yourself in another person's situation. Have some communication with that person. You'll know exactly how they feel or what they need at that point. I feel like sometimes it goes beyond the whole, I'm just going to give you this. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Like, I know you don't have the time because we don't have the time. I don't have the time sometimes. And sometimes patients just want to tell you their whole life. You don't have the time. You don't have the time. But just those little, give the eye contact. I can't be here right now, but do you have everything that you need right now? And then they're happy for you to go away. For if you go away for 10 hours, they don't care. Just the fact that you acknowledge and you told them what was going to happen. Communication, just communicate.
Good communication is key. Now, taking it from the perspective, going back to your nurse perspective, how do you and how can other nurses in this room maintain compassion and empathy when they're dealing with challenging patients who are sometimes angry and who actually, yeah, might be aggressive on occasion? How do you deal with that in respiratory or in your experience?
I think I've had that loads of times, but the way I diffuse that situation is just always thinking that there must be, even if the person, I've had a patient with that patient family that has gone from 0 to 100 for no reason. Did you give my dad laxatives? That was the first question. I didn't even get a chance to answer that. You gave my dad laxatives. Now we're in an argument. He wants to break my head open. And I'm just thinking to myself, there must be something other than this. Okay, so he's stressed about his dad being here. He's not actually asking me a question. So sometimes I think I will not respond. I don't respond. I just allow them to just get it out. I understand and I look at the situation. I'm not saying I'm not perfect all the time, but I just understand that people come with their own stresses, their own worries, their own situations. Maybe they're triggered by being in hospital, by something that has happened before. That, for me, I have to be careful about and just not know when to step back and not engage and get the right people in, or just try to wait until they calm down and kind of, again, communication, ask them, are you okay? When they're in a better place to kind of talk, you kind of get the best out of people. I think in my ward, they kind of give me the difficult patients because of this. Like the patients that say, I'm not taking my meds. And then I'll say to them, if you don't take it, yeah, there could be a possibility that you will get really sick. Or like patients' families that will come in and say, I'm taking my mum out of here when she's on high flow oxygen. If you take her out of here right now, do you think that she's going to live? I'm sorry, but those are like, you need to ask them a question that will make them think. We're not being rude. I didn't say your mum's going to die if you take her out of here, but that is going to be the consequence. But kind of think about, you can't always get through to every patient or patient family, but just kind of understand and communicate well.
You've told me other stories, which I won't relay here at the moment, but where you're handing power back to patients and making them feel like certain things are their idea. And so they have questions to answer and they get to a conclusion by themselves. Also, I think I've still got a bit of time. Sometimes it can feel, so I'll just touch on this. So I think sometimes we can forget in different settings. If you're in an emergency department, you're not seeing many sickle cell patients, that those who have sickle cell aren't the only patients who may be upset, who may be a bit angry, or who may vent. Lots of patients in pain. When you're in pain, you're upset. What's your experience of being in pain, and how does that change your character, how you behave?
When you're in pain, you can't think of anything else but the pain. You just want it gone. Sorry. When you're in pain, you can't think of anything else but pain. I think you've had a toothache, right? You've had a backache. You've stubbed your toe. And I want you to think about all those things. Those who've had natural childbirth, I'd go through that 10 times over again rather than have a sickle cell crisis, because I can't really tell you how excruciating that pain is. You just want it gone. You can't think of anything. Your head is throbbing because you're just like, I just want this gone. Like, it's just immense pain. you just can't think, you can't function. So you're not yourself. You want it gone. That's all you're thinking. So maybe in the way that you might say something, it might come across brash because you want it done quickly. You know, it's just not, you're not yourself. And I think sometimes as healthcare professionals, we take things too personally. We need to understand that that is the situation at that moment. Sometimes I'm sure you will get patients that will come back to you and say, you know what, I'm really, really sorry. I'm really sorry that I spoke to you that way. Because at the time, it was a crisis for them. They couldn't really explain to you. They just wanted that thing, or they just wanted you to understand that moment. No, we don't mean it.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to not take things personally and to keep a space open so that compassion can go both ways. So if hopefully nurses have been in situations where if something's happened, you've had apologies and sometimes you won't have had any apologies, and that must be really hard. So in the moment, it can feel quite intense and scary if someone is being aggressive. What kind of, you've given a lot of practical advice about leaving and giving space. What would you say if people are venting or raising their voice, or what are kind of any other practical tips you would give?
Oh, like I said, I give them space. And there's been moments where, you know, they've been screaming right here in my face. And by the time, how long does security take? Security, I don't know where they are, but they never come on time. So in that time, you've got to kind of think, I've got to keep myself safe and kind of still try and reason with this person if I can. But there's sometimes where you can't. But the last thing you've got, for me anyway, if the situation calls for it, I will say, okay, well, I'll come back in 5 minutes when you've calmed down. Because sometimes I'm sorry, but I'm going to speak to you like a child. If you are hollering, I gauge the situation. Yeah, I will gauge the situation. And I think we're sensible enough to know when it's like a risky situation where we need to get somebody else to intervene, or where we can handle it, walk away and come back. I'll give you 5 minutes to calm down, and then you can talk to me, because this exchange, my family don't talk to me like this. So you calm down, you think about what you're going to say to me, because sometimes that works. Yeah, you think about what you're going to say to me, and I'll come back and I'll listen to you. They don't expect that. They don't expect you to do that. They expect you to react. You're human, and sometimes you probably do. But for me, you're not going to get me that way. I'm not losing my pin for you. So in 5 minutes, I'm going to come back. And then if you really have something to say, we'll talk about it. For me, that's, I'm always going to think about a situation in which I can give them breathing space. And I also can think about,
Get your own breathing
yeah,
space. That's really well said. And I think quite useful to everyone here. And I think nurses also give the gift of like second, third, fourth chances. So I think you're all quite familiar with that. So to talk about hyper independence and talking about your days in uni. So in case you didn't catch this, Hindatu shared that during university, she had two close friends and she'd only found out that they'd had sickle cell because one of the friends had had a crisis and they'd all gone to hospital. So kind of talking about kind of keeping that on the down low, kind of keeping it secret. Can you talk a bit more about hyper independence and kind of, that's kind of like a coping mechanism for people with sickle cell, and kind of how do we chip away at it and kind of get in there?
yeah. So in that situation, like I said, I didn't really want to let anybody know that I had sickle cell. I just wanted to be part of a group, go to uni, live my life, do what everybody else is doing. And so I hid it. Maybe it's just denial for me. Like, I've had to live with this condition my whole life, and I just want to pretend it's not there. Well, you can't pretend it's not there. Um, the things I used to do, you come across as being flaky, to be honest with you, because you decide to go out, and then last minute your body tells you, you're not going anywhere. So you can't. You come across as somebody who, there's a lot of things you come across as, and you kind of have to keep, it takes a lot to keep those friendships going. But if they're true friends, they will, like I said, these friends are true friends, and they stuck around and they kind of understood that actually, you know what, when it's needed, I'll be there on the phone. But this is how I had to live my life through that period, was, trying to, it's like masking, really. It really was like masking, because even when you're in pain, like I'm sitting with you now, I might have a crisis. And then the next minute I've disappeared, and then I've sent a text. actually I had to quickly rush off. Well, no, you didn't quickly have to rush off. You went out back and you called an ambulance. So try to engage through that period. For me, I don't know. I think now we're a bit more advanced, and like I'm saying, there's different things to kind of keep young people in, like, within that service and keep engaged and on top of their health. I had my family, but I was away from home. So like I said, I wanted to be an individual. I wanted to not have this condition. But yeah.
It sounds like a very kind of and Lewis was pointing to this as well, a very necessary time of transition for young people to go through. It sounds like lots of people with sickle cell will go through the kind of masking phase of their life. But you kind of point to, just because someone is hyper independent doesn't mean that they don't need help.
Yeah, it's very true. You still do need that support. For me, I always found that coming back to my, like on weekends, coming back to my own service, literally, it was like family. Like, I come back and I'd see the nurses, I'd see the same doctors, and they generally have been there. They know me. It's kind of, it's just really scary, because then they tell you to change doctors when you're away. You don't do it. I don't do it. I've never done it.
Through adults all the way through
I've never done it. If I have to die on that 30-minute journey on the train back just to slump over the station to say I'm in London, so call an ambulance, then I'll do that. But that's not the right way. Like now, I even speak to members of my family who have it. Like literally, you need to, this is what you need to do. And they're very much, I think this generation, like I said, they're on their phones all the time. They're very much on top of what they need to be eating, which restaurant they need to go to and spend your money, to go and keep themselves, they will find a way. But I think we need to tap in, because sometimes I feel like our system is very outdated. We need to keep up with what they
go to the youth, go to them where they are.
Yeah.
I save that one for later. I don't know how I am for time just now, but we can do a couple of audience questions.
So it's not a question, and but it is a statement. It's about you said, how do we actually, you were saying, how do people change from in relation to understanding sickle cell? And I remember, I'm old enough to remembering people thought cancer, you didn't want to ever mention that because people thought it was catching. But now people understand that cancer is something that can be cured. You look after people. And that was because of education. And that's what's needed in relation to sickle cell. Education all the way. When you walked into that A&E and you saw the Act Now, they were being educated. And that's the way I believe that things are changed, but not just in A&E. This Act Now has to be on the wards. It has to be in the clinics. It should be in the operating theatres, because people with sickle cell come through these areas also. And so that was my tiny statement. But I just wanted, you said that people don't understand pain. And I just wanted to put a little question to the audience, that the next time you are in excruciating pain, no matter what it is, whether it's monthly or you've got a toothache or something, please just look in the mirror and see, can you actually see the pain? And the fact is you cannot. So when somebody says they're in pain, you've got to believe it, because it doesn't show. Pain isn't visual, it's within the person, and it's something that could make us who are in the nursing field or healthcare field a weeny bit better and understanding in relation to pain and people with sickle cell, and not to just take it, not to just assume you're not in pain. And that was my statement, as opposed to well, no, the education thing was that's how it's going to get better.
100%. I think that should be That act now should be everywhere, and that perfect week should be on every ward.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I wondered if you'd ever explored self-disclosure with a patient, and if you've ever disclosed your own health status to a patient and how your experience with that was.
Almost in terms of how I speak to them, but not necessarily disclosing that I have sickle cell, because I feel like that is crossing a line. I feel like that's crossing a line. For me, I feel like it's not a problem for me to share that, but I feel like this is patient nurse. I still have to remain professional. But what I've managed to do is within my own personal thing, I create packs. So when I see a sickle cell patient come in, I've got my own pack, which I feel would help that patient. I don't have to say a word. I just leave it with them. And they know exactly, oh, it's not from the NHS, it's from my own pocket. But at the same time, that doesn't matter. If it makes that patient talk to the doctor better, the other MDTs better, then I don't care. It has like the things that I would use, heat patches, you know, little bottles of water like this. Ask my daughter, I've got hundreds of these in the house. Like, it's small things, but yeah, Afro combs, because the majority, those with sickle cell, when you come into hospital, you're not thinking about how you're going to comb your hair the next day. Our hair is difficult. So for me, I just not disclose that I have it, but even in encouragement that I give them, I give all my patients encouragement, but I see that sometimes we are like some of the sickle cell, more so with the sickle cell patients, they are very much within themselves and they're just thinking, I don't know what they're thinking until I ask them, to be honest with you. Every person is different, but what I've gotten back so far is like, when we get on a deeper level of them talking, it's like, I just want to die. I just want to give up. I say, you can't give up because I'm your nurse and I've never had a patient die yet. And then they start laughing. Then we move on to maybe the next day when they're feeling a bit better. And that might be a little joke, and it's not me dismissing what they're saying. And I just gauge it. If that's an appropriate thing to say, then I'll say it. Whatever is an appropriate thing to say to that patient at that time that they need to hear it, to encourage them to feel a bit better for that second, that moment, or that day, I'll say it. But I will not disclose that I have sickle cell, not for the reason that I don't want to or I'm ashamed, but just for that professionalism.
Yeah, thank you very much for that explicit talk and hitting on the African parent, because I'm one of them. Yeah,
sorry.
I think that was no, that's, you don't have to apologize, because I was my daughter's advocate, like a mad person, until I took a trust up to the court because they didn't do what I wanted for my child. So I know what your mom was talking about, and we don't believe in mental health. We don't believe in psychology. We believe in prayer. That's us. But what I wanted to ask, you said you've got a daughter. How did you start talking about your sickle cells when you went into relationships? How hard was it? Did you face rejection? Did you face acceptance? Did you find it difficult? Or did you just say, well, with time, and then maybe you moved away from a relationship because you didn't have the guts to speak? How was the process like?
Okay, so me and my daughter, we talk about it all the time. In fact, she knows my condition better than I know my condition. And for me, I feel so sad about that, because I tell her all the time, I'm sorry I'm a burden on you. She says to me, no, you're not. Like, stop being stupid, mum. She's my biggest supporter. She encourages me. Like, even when there were days where I was, I can't do this no more, she's like, no, you better do it, mum. She's the reincarnation of my mum. Yeah. And I'm not joking. They mirror each other in the way that they talk. So even if I'm not with my mum, I've got my mum in my child who's sitting there.
How did
For me, I come from a family that is very open.
Her father about the
Huh?
sickle cells. How did you speak to her father about you having sickle cells?
How did I speak to her father?
Yeah, like before you.
Oh
had
no,
her,
I'm
yeah.
upfront from day one. I lay my cards on the table. I want to be married. I want to have children. I want
Yeah.
this. I want that. You know where I'm standing. So it's up to you. It's very difficult when you're dating. Now, like she say to me, date, mum. You've been single for too long. I don't really want to. I can't be bothered. But you know, you just have to tell them from the beginning. Maybe it's a lot for some people, but then I also feel like I said, the family that I come from, very open and honest. We don't hide anything. Don't ever dare ask them, does your bum look big in this? Because they will tell you the truth. But for me, I'm just like, if you can't be honest from the start and tell the person that you have this condition, but you can kind of gauge it with the person anyway. Like, but for me, I'm normally, I don't have a problem saying, you know, I have sickle cell, you know, this is my situation. I think it's fair to tell the person to just, it's up to them to take it or leave it. And if they leave, then they were never meant to be there.
Thank you for the sharing your experience. As a person, you live with sickle cell and live with pain, and also you work every day. So, what do you think? Like, what are the reasonable adjustments that you wish it should be there in place for the people who are living with sickle cell and also working in different sectors? So, what difference it will bring, and what are the reasonable adjustments you think it will be better for them?
Sorry, raise your hand because I haven't got my glasses on, and I don't know where the mic went. Sorry, I'm sorry, my love. Yeah. So you see reasonable adjustments in terms of
While working, so you told like each day you are preparing yourself for the work before you go for the work. Each day you need some preparation. So what are the reasonable adjustments that would help?
people's attitudes, really. If you know about it, change your attitude towards somebody who has sickle cell or any long-term condition, because it's hard work. But from me, my manager right now, it's been a battle. Like, I'm looking to leave. I need to speak to about a job. I need to leave. Yeah, it's time. And like I said, I come from an open family. We discuss stuff all the time. Sometimes I don't want their advice, but they give it. So for me, it's like, I don't have a problem being open about who I am. Just don't judge me according to your own limitations. I know what I'm very well capable of in my body. You just need to adapt to what I'm capable of in my body. And if I have a problem, I will come and tell you. The thing I think, like I said, I come back to communication. You need to just, if you know somebody has sickle cell and they've, disclosed that, that's if they've disclosed it, not you finding out through gossip. If they've disclosed it, you need to just ask them, how can I help you? Like, I don't understand this. How can I help you? Because everybody is different. I might tell you what helps me. Another person might tell you what helps them. For me, if I go quiet, yeah, I'm pretty much a quiet person anyway, apart from when I'm talking about this because I'm passionate about it. If I go really quiet, like I'm not even saying hello, that means something's happening with me and I need a moment to just go away, sit for 10 minutes. I've spoken to occupational health. So all those things, I have to also prepare myself for that day. Occupational health have said that that's what I need. I don't work nights. Those are the things that, for me, help me. On a day-to-day, I have to prepare myself. I have to wake up. I'm waking up at 4:30 to get to a job for 7:30 and then not finishing until 8 o'clock. So for me, I'm already constantly preparing myself. I've woken up and I'm seeing how my body feels. I have like 5 alarms, which gets on everybody's nerves, but they're there for a reason. It's like I have to go through a process and like wake my body up. My mind is already awake. I have to wake my body up. Then I have to, if I'm not already quite warm, I have to then, when I get out of bed, make sure my house is extremely warm before I can go into the shower or the bath. Like, these are practical things I'm telling you. but there are things that I have to do before I even get to work at 8 o'clock. Yeah, just little things in the day. Take time to take myself out and rest on a 12-hour shift. Not do too much because I'm an overdoer. Like I will burn my body out, but I sometimes have to say to myself, this is too much. Sit down, take some water. Just little things. Just ask the person, because everybody's different.
Okay. When you were talking, you were saying that you didn't want a lot of people to know about your disease, and later on, I mean, there were some people that you informed them about it, especially even when you got to uni. I've got a patient I've been looking after. I just she just came into the country, and then I visited her, but she's living with some people. And then she told me, just as I was about to start the treatment for her, she told me that, oh, my colleagues don't know anything about it, so don't let them know. But to me, I feel that in case she gets into crisis, these people who are her age mates and everything can help her. But because of that, they don't know anything about it. How would you advise her to be able to tell her friends in case she gets ill, and then they have to maybe send her to the hospital, and then so that she can get the early treatment that she could have to bring down the crisis? Is there any advice that you could give to that person?
I would say to that person, I don't know fully her situation and how close these friends are, but clearly they're close enough for her to stay with them. She's already prepped in her mind that she can't tell these friends. So for me, I'm just thinking maybe she has prepped herself in terms of, like I said, for me, if I go somewhere for one night, I've already put things in place that will allow me to be able to stay there comfortably and know that I shouldn't be in crisis, in terms of packing pain relief or heat patches or a water bottle. Those are practical things. But in terms of her telling her friends, I wonder why she's not told her friends. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this deeper. I'm assessing why she hasn't told her friends. For me, my situation was I was growing up and you want to just fit in. Is she an adult? She's an adult, right?
Yeah.
And she's
22, 23, yes, with her friends.
okay, I understand then. And you say she's just come here
Yes,
from
from Ghana.
that's another thing. Us Africans, we have a stigma against this thing. So her telling somebody you're already dead, that's for me personally. She's not. But what I'm saying is, I've had friends that have not been seen in their own families. Like they will say, "Oh, I have 6 children." You have 7. You've got 1 right there. You're already invisible within your own home. So that whole thinking of, and I know you said, Auntie, we use prayer. Sometimes we have to be practical. Yeah. Kofi has helped me a lot. Even though my mom said, God forbid, now she likes Kofi. Sometimes we have to also use those services that are there. Maybe she's not confident yet. She's not confident in how to approach that with her friends, but I'm sure if she told them, if they are her friends, they will embrace everything. They'd ask her, like my friends will ask, what do you need to do? But for me, I carry my own little card. I also carry the one that they have with the sickle cell. I have to do things to safeguard myself in case I end up somewhere, because I like traveling. If I end up somewhere and they don't know what sickle cell is, they better phone Ross or Keisha there. I've got a card that I made up myself, and she needs to do little things for herself to make sure that she is okay. Wherever she is in the world, she could be on the moon. Just make sure that she is okay. When she's ready and she builds up confidence, or maybe she, gauges conversations about sickle cell with her friends and see their reaction, maybe educate them. Just like for me, like I said, when I'm in my handovers and I hear how they talk about sickle cell, I'd say, why do you say that? And kind of say, but don't you think everybody that has pain doesn't choose to have pain? You kind of change their thinking. And now they're thinking, okay, let me be a bit nicer to that person because it's true. I don't have to tell you that I've got sickle cell, but we can change the conversation, to change the narrative of what you normally think sickle cell is about. Because they'll be quite shocked to know that she's got sickle cell and living her best life. You can do that.